Welcome to Sew Very Easy. My name is Laura, and today I want to make a superhero cape. But this superhero cape is going to be very unique. It's not going to tie up around the neck. It's going to tie around the chest. I just don't like the idea of anything being tied around a child's neck. So I have spent a lot of hours drafting out a design that I think is going to work and still have that beautiful flow and be easy to use. Now, I've not made it yet, but I do hope it works out, so I hope you join me and let's see if it does work out. So it could be either a good thing or not so good. Let's find out. I've added some towels around this little decorative mannequin to try to get the size of a child. Now the child size I want to make would be around a medium. This would fit a 4-year-old to about a 6-year-old. The chest to a 4 to a 6-year-old is about 21 to 24 inches. And from the back of the neck to the waist is about 10 inches, anywhere between 9 to 10 inches. So I want to make it around that size. So to do this, I'm going to start with 2 half-yard cuts of fabric. Now that's going to give me 18 inches in that width. So that width is going to give me enough to give them that superhero cape. And from there, you're going to be able to get it as long as you want. Now, the fabric I'm using is this really fun fabric from Timeless Treasures. It has all these great superhero masks and capes. And I'm going to match it up with some beautiful blue. So I'm going to have this as the outside of the cape, and the blue is going to be the lining. So I'm going to start with the blue. And that's going to have a little bit of an additional piece to it. It's the piece that's going to help it come around that waist. So I have 18 inches by 25.5 inches. And I need a piece 2 inches by that 18 inches. And I'm going to take that 2-inch strip of fabric and fold it so the ends are somewhere near the middle and do 2 rows of stitching. And I used a 1/4-inch seam allowance. So I'm going to be able to turn this right side out through that opening, poke out those edges, and press. I'm not worried about that opening because that will be underneath and we won't see it. This little piece of fabric is going to be a back casing for some elastic. So if you are customizing your own cape, you just need to make sure that it's going to fit that casing. And I do have the elastic with the holes in it. And those holes are designed for buttons, and that's going to come in handy to customize this fit. This little piece we need to sew on the back of this cape. So this is the lining part. So anywhere between 9 and 10 inches, we're going to put this little piece. We just want to center it and then stitch right along those 2 edges. We will be feeding this in, so keep that in mind. Now we're going to need to have the front fabric. And I did choose that fabric, which is called Superhero from Timeless Treasures. So I need 2 pieces the same size. Sew this together so that the right sides are touching. The smaller part, this 10 or 9 inches, where we have that little strip of fabric, will be the top. So the longer part, this will be from the waist down. So this is going to be the bigger adjustment if you do need to make it longer. Those 2 bottom corners, I just want to make a gentle curve. So I'm going to sew with a curve. On this top part, I need to leave an opening. I'm going to need to leave a 2-inch opening. So we're going to stitch a 1/4 inch along that top. Then down from that 1/4 inch, start at 2 inches and stitch all the way around, leaving an opening on one side and then coming back and stitching this area. So we're going to have a 2-inch opening at the top on each side, that round bottom, and a little area where we're going to be able to turn this all right side. From this larger hole, we could turn this all right side out. Where that little opening is, just press that seam allowance in and draw a 2-inch line right along the top. This 2-inch line is going to be a stitching line. So we're going to leave that open, but stitch right from one end to another, and then do 1 row of top stitch along that top. From there, we're going to be able to stitch all the way around, stopping and starting at this 2-inch line. That's going to give us a chance to close up that hole and give it a nice finished look. So far, this looks like a regular case that we would gather here and put the string in to go around the neck. But instead of using a neck closure, we're going to combine this casing and the neck and do some arm straps. Now, I'm not sure how much we're going to need, so let's figure it out as we go along. The first thing I want to do is slide that through that top casing. Once it's through that top, I'm going to slide one end through that casing. Now be sure that you avoid that little seam that we did not take care of. I marked the elastic at 1 yard, so let's see how that's going to work out. So I just have this circle that goes around. I want to gather up that elastic up at the back of the neck and just baste it right on that elastic. I'm going to do about 8 inches. So that's going to be that back part of the neck. So that elastic is going to stay in place, and it also finished off those little holes. I did tuck those seam allowances in and stitch down, so there's no raw edges. I do have that elastic at 1 yard, so let's see if it's going to be enough. So here's our little 25-inch body. This will be the arm. So it's going to go over the shoulders on both sides. So they're just going to be able to slip their arms in. From here, the front is going to be attached. And this back piece, we're just going to be able to gather it as we need it. So I think I'm going to need a little bit more than 1 yard. Let's try 1.5 yards. So I now have 1.5 yards. So that's going to slip on. And now we're going to be able to put a button right here. The 1.5 yards definitely is the better measurement. Attach those 2 ends together so we have one large circle. I now have these 2 straps coming out, and you can always make that adjustment larger or smaller. We can sew a button on one side and now button it up so that it fits. And if you want, you could add 2 or 3 buttons, and that's going to make it a little bit longer. And when we look at the back, that cape is attached to the back. We still have that lovely cape that they're going to be able to run around with, and it's going to be able to blow in the air, but we don't have to worry about the neck. So this was the design that I have come up with. There are a few things that I wanted to keep in mind. The very first thing was safety not being around the neck. Number 2, how easy is it going to be to wear and for us and them to take on and off? We still need it to look like a superhero cape, and we need that beautiful flow when they're running around. Now, I will be testing this out in a couple of weeks, and I'll put my findings on Facebook for you. In the meanwhile, if you have a chance to give it a try, or you can think of modifications, I would love to hear your opinion. And thank you for joining me today on Sew Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and I do have a newsletter all under Sew Very Easy. And now we have a superhero cape that we have no worries about. Bye for now.